Abuja. And this is why we bring you events, reports, interviews, and everything relating to the FCT. This is Abuja File.
Stand before you today to accept the nomination of our party.
All right, welcome to another episode of Abuja File, where we'll bring you updates on events, news and reports and everything happening here in the FCT. And as always, it's always a pleasure to be here to grace your screen. My name is Sandra. And today on the program, I have Comrade Akoshile Mukhtar. He's the President, Abuja Resident Youth Association. And together we shall be taking a look at what are the challenges of Abuja youth in FCT. Thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So you represent the Abuja youth, Abuja resident youth. So what are the challenges that you can say are more that affect the youth directly here in the FCT compared to other places? Because I know that one of the challenges that most people talk about when they talk about FCT is the fact that they don't even know if FCT is a state. So that conversation is something that we keep on going back to. But until we are sure of where to place the FCT, what challenges would you say the FCT resident youth are facing?
Okay, well, thank you. When we talk about youth in FCT, we talk about the indigenous youth and we talk about the resident youth. But for the purpose of this conversation, we should be talking about the youth generally in FCT.
Yes.
Yeah, challenges faced can be narrowed down to insufficient governance structure. When we talk about insufficient governance structure in FCT, we'll talk about the inability of FCT to have enough representative in governance. We can bear witness that in any other state of the federation, we have 3 senators, we have so many House of Reps, some have 7, 9, some have as much as 20 something. And in FCT, we only have 2. We do not have any legislative structure. There is no House of Assembly. There is no. So when those structures are lacking, then the benefit that is accrued to younger ones in that democratic setting will be very minimal, because if young people get out of school, they do not have where to run to. If they need empowerment for self-sufficient, self-reliance, they do not have where to run to. If they need people to rely on, they do not have where to run to. So political shortchanging is one of the key things that affect young people in FCT. And again, development. When we talk about development, we need government to also come closer to FCT and develop. The development is really coming into the center, but they need to diversify the development to other area councils. When those development comes, the youth in those areas can have something to do. They can have themselves engaged and life will be better for them.
All right, like you said earlier that the Abuja youth, when we talk about Abuja youth, it comprises of the resident and the indigenes. So I want to believe that sometimes when we talk about the issues that affect the youth, now we should talk about it separately. Since you said we should talk about them different, they are both different bodies. We have the indigenes and the residents. I want to believe that the issues that affect the indigenes might differ from the ones that affect the residents, because we've had issues of the indigenous clamoring for they've had lots of issues, inclusivity, not just in governance. They've been talking about land grabbing for the longest time. They've been talking about displacement for the longest time. So all of these issues, the Abuja Resident Youth Group is an organization that I'm very sure that some of the residents are in these organizations too. So these issues that concerns the indigenes in particular, how has this gone so far? Has there been any moves made to resolve these issues, and how far has that gone?
Okay, yes, as I said, resident, in as much as we are all in Abuja, we interchange ideas, we work together. What affects the residents affect the indigenous, and what affects the indigenous will take it personal, because we have been living harmoniously. Like you yourself, you are not an indigenous of Abuja,
True.
and you've been doing fine. So that means if the indigenous people have been hostile with you, you will not have a place to stay. So one of the things that we feel affect them so much is the issue of political. As I said, that the political opportunity is very minute. But now, Mr. President are just giving up a hope by giving us a ministerial appointment. So that is one of the very key things that affect the indigenous of Abuja. You talk about land grabbing, fine, yes. Their lands have been, there was a time there was a policy called land swap. So many government policy has came, but they have also tried to make sure that they remain persistent. And they don't form themselves into being militancy groups. And one of the things the government can also do to make sure that these groups are not being formed into being militancy groups is to quickly come into their aid and listen to their yearnings. And what are their yearning? They want a better FCT. They want a better, for instance, now we got the ministerial appointment, but we are now saying we want that person to be in FCT. Of course, we know that it is within the prerogative of Mr. President to appoint any of his cabinet to man any ministry he wishes.
Yes.
But it's in form of appeal, because the FCT people want to also feel sense of belonging. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. They want to feel sense of belonging. They want to feel sense of we are all Nigerians. They want to feel sense of when someone beats you, you have somewhere to cry to.
Okay.
When you have a problem, you have who to report to. So by and large, indigenous residents, we are one in making sure that we pursue a common goal and achieve it together.
All right. Now, let's also move to some of the issues that I personally observe that affect the Abuja resident. And I don't know if your body or if your organization or if the Abuja resident as a group has had anything to or has any move to resolve that so far. And I'm going to talk about the first one, the issue of house affordability. Housing affordability is one of the most talked about topics when we talk about Abuja. I don't know if there's anything that can be done to get that part right, because if people are not able to afford housing, and I'm very sure that if we take a look at the demography of people residing here in FCT, I think we should be looking at more of youth, because most people come here to do their NYC and they never go back. So we have more youth here in Abuja, but then housing is not affordable. So what do you think can be done to solve this particular issue? And then the second one is the issue of transportation, because times without numbers, I've heard people that I know, young people like me, talking about entering one chance and all of that. So these two issues affect everybody in Abuja, but I think that affects the youths more. How do you think this can be solved? As the Abuja resident youth organization, has there been any move? Has this topic been looked into?
Okay, yes, thank you. These are very, very critical issues you have raised, and these are issues that also concerns us as leaders of young people in Abuja. Our organization is registered and known to the law by the virtue of being with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and it is the umbrella body that unites the residents of Abuja. So part of what we're trying to do is that we are written to government. Issue of housing is pathetic. All the issues you raised are very pathetic. For instance, we had appealed to FCDA to come up with what we call a mass housing scheme, whereby people can stay. That what we call the owner occupier scheme, that you can stay and pay your rent, and to be very, very comfortable for you. And that, I don't know what their plan is, but I'm sure they are looking into it. And I was also with Honorable Blessing Onu, who was an ad hoc chairman, on looking at how these estate people also built their houses to make sure that they regulate their price so that their prices can be bearable, can be affordable for residents. Yes, Abuja is expensive, but if there is a control measure to make sure that there's an association that governs the prices people, and it also come down to having a kind of meeting with manufacturers of cement and other materials that are used to build all these houses, and also how allocations of land are being given. For instance, if FCT government, the Ministry of Federal Capital Territory Administration, decided to shift development to area councils, the prices of the price of accommodation will be very low. If the federal government also decided to relocate some ministry, like Minister of Education can be cited in Buhari, because we have a law school, we have some private universities, and we have the JAM office there. Minister of Education can be shifted there. If the Minister of Education is there, people will go and build houses in Buhari. It's cheaper to get lands in Buhari to build, because getting land is the problem, not really building it. If the Ministry of Agriculture can be cited in maybe Kwali or Gwagwalada, that we have a lot of lands, fertile lands, that people can, go into agriculture, practical agricultural extension, things will be better. So we have a blueprint, and we have been in talks with them. And going into transportation, the issue of the what you call the one chance, we have young people who at the time we form ourselves as we call ourselves road marshals. Like, we also go after them by giving these security people informations, like tips, because the best idea is that you be your neighbors keep, and you, when you see something, you say something. So as young people, we are within the age bracket that gets information very quickly. For instance, you might just sit in an hangout or somewhere in the evening after work, you hear what people say. When we get those informations, or when our member gets those information, we pass those informations to the security agencies, and that actually lead to some of the successes that the police has recorded in terms of what do you call it, one chance. And again, one of the things that can also eradicate the issue of one chance is the issue of raiding off all these touts on the road. When you see this one, you will say it's an armed staff, is collecting ticket in the daytime. In the evening time, they turn to be those that operate as one chance, because in the daytime they can pretend to be working. What is the work they do? Some of them will have a fake ticket in their hands. They are not really selling that ticket, but they are looking at loopholes to steal. When somebody has gov himself or something, they pick his or her phone. So we look about those ones, and that's why recently you see that we lay our voice to the tax harmonization of FCT, because when these taxes are harmonized together, you will not see all these touts doing on the road, giving you ticket, standing up ticket, sitting down ticket, eating ticket, buying water ticket, making up ticket, putting makeup
Anything
on your
you
face.
do,
You have to
buy
pay. So
tickets.
it is very crazy. And when you see the nature of Abuja influx of people every day,
yes,
and you cannot help that, rather than to extend the facility for people to have a place to stay.
Okay. Because that's going to be a long shot from now. I just want to be hopeful, but sincerely, I feel like that's going to be a long shot from now. Let's still hope that we get the FCT minister that you just prayed for, and he's able to relate to some of these issues that we've just discussed. Because some people were of the opinion that the former FCT minister did not reach out to the Abuja resident. There was no connection between the minister and the people. But then earlier in your speech, you made mention of inclusivity in politics for the youth. So I want to ask, because we all know that you can't drag somebody into politics. You have to be willing to be there. You have to be willing to participate. So I know that 2 or 3 years ago, I cannot remember, 2 years ago, we had the chairmanship elections here in the FCT. You've just made mention of youth not being included. You don't have to wait to be included. I think you have to demand inclusivity, because there was no participation from the youth. I saw all the people that contested for, we only had a few, and even the youth that we have, they didn't get as much support from the youth as they deserve. Let's say for instance, Mena Hoshfall, I know she's one of the youngest people that contested then, but she didn't get the support that she needed. So it's not about inclusivity. The youth also have to come out and participate. So would you say so far the youth has been aiming to participate, just that they were not given the opportunity?
Well, I don't know what you mean by youth coming to participate in Abuja elections, because the Abaji chairman is just 40 years of age. He's about the youngest in Nigeria, and the chairman outgoing in Abuja. The chairman of Mekalangu Ahmad chairman is about 43. The chairman of Kuje is also young, and you know, all of them. So these people are also young people. And when you talk about participation, we have like only 6 area councils in Abuja. Is that enough to fill the space of people who are in politics? They will just turn to political talks. We talk about Abuja that has about more than 50 million young people, both indigenous and resident, and that's why you see that even when it comes to area council politics, we leave it for the indigenous people. We can't drag it with them, but because that is about very few opportunities they have. So why do you even drag it with them? Where would will they come to Lagos now and come and contest with me in my own area council? No. So that's why we leave it to them. So what the little they have, they do, and the only support other people have, they give them, and that's why you see that the only thing we as residents do within the election time is to make sure the election is peaceful, talk to our colleagues to go out and vote, and make sure that the election is credible and seamless. But the fact that what we are saying is that we need more structures. We need a legislative setup for Abuja. We need a mayor status. We need more appointments. When Mr. President settles down, we should give party men, director general's positions, members of board, the chairmanship of board. When those ones get there, they can pick from area councils, known faces who have been doing politics. This one can have this one as essay, this one can have this one as something. So we are taking them gradually away from the streets. So, but for now, the positions are very minimal, and FCT people demands more than that, because what Nigerians stands to benefit from Abuja is more than what Abuja is benefiting from Nigeria. And there's supposed to be a balancing. Okay,
we'll come back to that, but I want us to go back a few steps. When I talked about youth, I had a different opinion, but like you mentioned, you called some people and said they're in their 40s. So the Abuja Resident Youth Association, I don't know your definition of what a youth is, because I think like that's where there's a disparity in what we think or what we describe as youth right now. So what's your definition of youth? Well, so the Abuja Resident Youth Association, who is eligible to join?
Yes, thank you. Apart from being the president of Abuja Resident Youth, I'm also the vice president National Youth Council of Nigeria for North Central. Okay. I'm the youth leader for all the North Central states. And in the Nigeria, in the youth policy, that's the guiding principle. That is our own constitutions in the Ministry of Youth, Federal Ministry of Youth. It defines a young person within the ages of 8. Do you get me? To 28. Okay. That is their own definition. But you quite agree with me that in Nigeria, even if somebody is 60, he will tell you he's a youth.
But that does not qualify as a youth.
No, it does not.
Okay.
But what we are trying to say is that we are in a country, Nigeria, that our elders are trying to round off. We are trying to persuade them. We are trying to lure them, and we are trying to encourage them to allow the younger people to get into position. Yes. So with the going into those and those substances, when you see somebody who is 40, you will still know that yes, he's still representing within the young people. Maybe he's in between. So you cannot really say he's an elder, because when you still see somebody like 75 seeing government, still holding position, and for the first time you are now seeing somebody who is 40, who is 41, who is 38. You barely see somebody of 25, 26 holding position in Nigeria. Our democracy has not advanced to that stage. So that's why sometimes, but coming to eligibility of Abuja resident youth, you are eligible to be a member in as much as you are not up to 40 years of age.
Okay, now that takes us back to the question I asked earlier when I said youth inclusivity in politics. I was talking about the actual youth, people below the age of 40. So most of them do not participate in politics like the way they should, because aside the presidential election that we had recently, that we saw before the election period, people coming out on social media to raise their voices in regards to the elections that were upcoming. So before the presidential elections, was 2 years before that was when we had the FCT chairmanship elections, and like I said, I didn't see the youth, I'm talking about the actual youth, coming out and mass to participate.
To vote or to contest?
To contest and to vote.
What do they want to contest for in area council? Only 6 positions.
Because it cannot be given to you. You have to take
only
power.
6 positions. And when the reason why you be convinced that young people in Abuja are very, very active is when you go back to the issue of NSES.
Yes.
You see how the young people come out. Because NSAS come with its own uniqueness, and you see how people came out to participate in that process.
Okay.
If there's opportunities in Abuja, like I will have, if Abuja is a state and would have been able to contest for assembly and the rest, I would have been a member of the state or maybe a speaker at the age of 25 when I was still in the university, when we're still doing unionism before it metamorphosed to what it is today. But because the position that we have is very minute, okay, now if the youth come out, the elders will not allow them, and what do you want the elders to do? You want to retire them. Their lands have been taken, no farmland. Political structure, zero. Political inclusiveness for the young and the old, zero. What do you want them to do? And they don't want to go by the fact that they want to follow or to the part of the Niger Delta to issue threat today before government sees you. And I think that's what government hears. But we have been saying we don't want to follow that part. So we are pleading to Nigerians, those in government, to see into the plight of Abuja young people and the elderly ones and give them more opportunities. All right.
With that being said, let's move away from the issues of politics and now talk about the personal well-being of Abuja youth or resident youth. So when a resident of Abuja, like a youth in Abuja, has an issue, let's say the person is not in the association of Abuja resident youth and has an issue, who can come to the organization to complain? Can I just walk in to a meeting or come to you and say, please, I have this issue, Mr. President? As the president of Abuja Resident Youth, can random Abuja Resident Youth walk up to you and complain about the issues that they're having in FCT or issues that might affect them, whether it's where they live, where they work, something that affects them as youth in the FCT? Or do you have to belong to the organization to be able to harness the power of the organization?
The answer is our organization is open for any young persons in Abuja.
Okay.
And for us to make it very strong, that was why we approached the CAC. And CAC turned us down many times to say, you cannot use the word Abuja. Are you the owner of Abuja? But FCD has to intervene to say, we know the characters behind the leadership of this organization, and they had to extend communications, and the organization became registered and an household name. But what am I trying to say is that we interface with people's problem. We make younger people's problem our problem. Anybody that has any challenge or any problem, when you come to us, we have a website, we are feasible. Some of us our faces are known faces around. Yeah. When, like, for instance, you are not employed. Of course, how many people does government want to employ? But for the best of our ability, we lobby for employment through the FCDA. We have a very strong relationship with the PAMSEC FCT, with Dr. Juma Amodu, Director Reform Coordination, with the Director Human Resources, Madam Bashir. Area councils, we have relationship with all the area council chairmen. Okay. We have a relationship from private sector. So we take people's problem like our problem. Security, if you have any challenges, the CP we have in fact, I'm a member of FCT Security Council. Like I'm a member of the stakeholders in Security Council. I relate with the CP, I relate with the OCSIP, I relate with the director of DSS. So we are on ground, because why they choose to make some of us their focal person is that they cannot listen to everybody. So but everybody can approach us, we can listen to them, because we are young people and we know how to address and listen to ourselves. So let's everybody be free to relate with us. We'll do our best to make sure that they're fine.
So what's the spread like in let's say taking into consideration area councils, or are you just centered in the
No, we have coordinators in area councils.
And then are the youth aware? Are they participating like they should? Because when people keep on talking about youth not being included, it's not just about inclusivity. You have to participate.
Yes.
So if you are participating in an organization that brings Abuja resident youth or Abuja indigenous youth together, I'm very sure that you will have access to some kind of information and knowledge. So are the youth participating as they should?
Yes, of course they are trying to participate, although participation comes only when someone has a problem and they say, how can I resolve it? They will now say, okay, go and meet this person, go to their office there. But as best as we could, we hold seminars where we publicize it. Then from there, people know about the existence of it. For instance, International Youth Day is just next week. Yes, this week. We are also trying to hold a program that will also call the resident youth together, ask what is the problem, how can we improve their quality of life, how can we come into their system. We know people come, everybody, I want to serve in Abuja, I want to serve in Abuja. In fact, that's another headache we know we face every day. People try to lobby, how can I be posted to Abuja? So there's nothing people don't lobby through us. And I can tell you categorically that we can give ourselves 90% pass mark on our relationship with our members. It's excellent.
Well, I would have loved us to draw the curtain here, but like you said, now people coming into Abuja to say, I want to serve in Abuja, I want to serve in Abuja. That's one of the headaches that you're having right now. Why is that so?
Because Abuja is secured.
It's not just about I don't think Abuja is the most secured. I don't want to call it a state, but I don't think Abuja is the most secured in Nigeria. There are other states that are more secured, but that mentality of there's something going on here in Abuja, I think that's what we should try to...
Maybe that's the same thing that brought you to Abuja. I wouldn't know what brought you to Abuja, but because you are in Abuja, perhaps you are looking more better than those who are down there. Maybe that's why every other person wants to come to Abuja.
I don't think so. I have a different opinion in that regard, but thank you so much for coming on the program. It's been amazing talking to you, and I'm very sure that any resident youth or indigenous youth listening to us right now will have one or two things to walk away with. And we also know that if you have an issue, or if you're youth here in Abuja, you have an issue, please do well to contact the Abuja Resident Youth Association. I'm very sure that Comrade Mukhtar will be willing to listen to you and take your complaints. Well, that's where we draw the curtain today on the Abuja File, coming to you from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN Television. Till I come your way next time, I am Sandra Ago. Bye for now.